Whether or not you're doing time, just remember, it's always a thin line.
Welcome back to It's Always a Thin Line. I'm Teacher Will, and we're back together. I got Boss Man with me here. How you doing today, Boss Man?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Father's Day to me. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, happy Father's Day to you. Definitely, and happy Father's Day. This is being recorded on Father's Day. I'm sure by the time you guys get to listen to it, it'll be past. But happy late Father's Day to everybody out there. I'm glad you brought up Father's Day because we were bringing up a very important before we started recording. We were talking about punishment and rehabilitation. And I'm glad you brought up Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to my father out there, who's a great, great man. And I guess I'll start off with that is that I think for rehabilitation in prisons, it's very important, at least for me. I was an 18-year-old kid still. Um, Having my father in my life at some aspect was very important to me starting that process of rehabilitation. I want to tell a story. So I was in a cell one time and I had a great cellie. I'll call him, he was from Southside Chicago. So we'll call him Southside Chicago, but he was a good guy, really good, instrumental in my rehabilitation. Yes, another convict. I think when I met him, I was about 23. So, but if you keep in mind, I've been in group homes since about 11 years old. Then I went straight to prison. So, 23 years old, I met this guy and he gave me a lot of game. He schooled me on life and in general. He was a good guy. But the story I want to tell you is that he was getting transferred. We were in a level 3 yard. And these are generally cells.
Okay.
And he
Can
was
you explain what's a level 3 yard, please?
Sure. Okay. So in California State Prison, we have four levels. The fourth level is, you're talking Pelican Bay, you're talking Corcoran, you're talking, the hardcore guys who really, when you get to level 4, it's about punishment. I think there's very little bit of rehabilitation up there. Level 3 is for guys coming out of level 4, or for guys who, mm, they're violent. They're nobody to play with, but they have some sense about themselves. And basically, you work your way through the levels by points you receive, and you receive points for your crime. You receive points for your punishments inside, like if you break the rules or anything. So level 4 and level 3, generally, you're talking cells. Now, they do have the gymnasium, which is I heard, a very terrible place to be. I never actually made it there, thank goodness. But generally speaking, level 3s and level 4s, you're in cells. Level 2s, these are the guys who committed maybe car burglary, something like that.
Right.
Maybe beer runs, few too many beer runs, ran
Less
into some.
less violent offenses.
Yeah, less violent offenses, less time
Right.
overall, right? So if you went in the pen with 10 years, 15 years, you might start off at level 4, but if you behave yourself, by the time you're 2 years to the house, you might find yourself at a level 2. I doubt it though, for many other reasons. But anyways, so long story short, outside Chicago, my good friend, he was getting transferred to a level 2 yard. And in level 2 yards in the dorms, generally they don't let you have your own personal TV. Generally. And we were in Solano, so it was a no-no. So he actually told me, he said, "Look, little guy, normally I would just give you this TV. You need it. You don't have any money. You could use it. The problem is that because I'm in prison, the Navy has cut my disability checks until I get out of prison, and I kind of need the money. So I don't know if you can think of a way. Man, I really want to give it to you, but I you know,
Hmm.
love and respect, but I just can't do it like that." So I thought about it long and hard, and so I got on the phone and I called my father. And I just asked him the best I could, "Dad, you could say no. Obviously, you could say no, no hard feelings. I'm just wondering if you could help me out." So my dad asked me, "How much is he asking for the TV?" And I said, $200. And my dad said, "Okay." And then he asked me a very important question. He asked me a question that would turn my life around. This one question, one phone call. My father asked me, "You got a job?" I said, "No." He said, "Why not?" I said, "I'm in prison, Dad." He said, they don't have jobs in prisons?" Really? I seen a lot of movies. I've, talked to a lot of people. I heard there's jobs in prisons. And I said, yeah, Dad, there's a job, but I mean, so he told me this. He said, look, let's just cut to the bull. This is what I'm going to do for you. You need to get a job. There's no excuse for you not to be working. You're too old not to be working, and you don't need to be sitting around all day. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to go get a job. If you get a job, I will give Southside Chicago $20 a month until I pay him $220, not just $200, $220. But you need to send me a copy of a time card, something. You need to send me proof every month that you're working. And every time I get that proof, I'll put 20 bucks on this guy's books. And I'll keep doing it until he has $220 to show my appreciation.
Wow.
So I went back to cell, and I thought that was it. I mean, why would another convict agree to this? I
Right.
mean, for real, we're in prison, dude. I mean, why would any convict in the world agree to this crap? You know? So I went to him and I said, "Hey, listen, Southside Chicago, man, I apologize, man, but I don't think I can do it." And he's like, "Oh, really? What'd your dad say?" And I told him. And he just looked at me like, "You're an idiot, dude. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, you better go get a job. You better go talk to somebody." And I
Hmm.
was like, "For real?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I don't care. I trust your dad. Your dad ain't gonna." No, I trust your dad. But dude, if your dad ain't sending me the money, it's because you're not acting right.
And I
So
got fuck you up.
yeah, yeah. He was like, don't make me send a wheeler over here, and take care of business. You owe me money. You owe me money. And we were friends, but I mean, I believed him at that moment. But I was just so happy he was willing to go with it. So long story short, I got a job on the sandwich crew. Long story, I got the TV. My dad paid the guy 140, I think, in the end, just to be nice to the guy. Um, but the point is that by the time I met you, my brain work, and that really changed because from that moment forward until this day today, I have never been without a job longer than maybe 2 weeks.
Wow, that's
I
good.
mean, and this really rehabilitated and before that moment, before that call, I wasn't thinking about work. I
Right.
wasn't thinking about a job. I wasn't even an idea in my brain. And so this was a real moment of rehabilitation. The funny thing is that I find is that CDC, California Department of Corrections, had very little to do in that moment other than housing me at that moment and overcharging me for the very phone call that I used to call my dad, well, overcharging him. Uh, CDC had very little to do in that moment of rehabilitation. And even now, man, I hate, even during the pandemic, there was a moment I was without a job and I was freaking out, like, I'm sure as many others were.
Right.
But I mean, for me, it was just so ingrained. And, I figure that as long as I'm working, I'm doing good. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's not the only thing that determines whether you're doing good or not, but I believe it's one of the big things. And for me, I evaluate my life on that as an ex-con, as a guy who used to break into people's houses and steal their stuff, smoke all kinds of meth and do all kinds of dumb stuff as a little kid, as a kid. Uh, Now it's all about work, and I really value myself on, am I working or not? Am I doing what I because that was a moment of rehabilitation. So I just wanted to share that story. But you and I were talking about because you have some pointed ideas about this punishment rehabilitation. And I'm interested from an officer's aspect.
Well, first, let me go back to explain what a wila what is, because I've
Oh
had a few
yes.
a few comments from some of our listeners are like, well, "What is this? What is that?" So when you said the guy will shoot a wila, we call it a kite. It's pretty much a message written very tiny that will send a message to someone who will handle their business for that individual if he didn't keep up his end of the bargain. So a wheeler, a kite, is just a message written down, very small, where it can't be found. So
And just to clarify how small, I want you to imagine, listeners, I want the listeners to imagine 4 to 5 lines of text within one line of like that binder paper of the, the regular lined writing paper. Within one line, two blue lines, within two blue lines, there's 4 to 5 lines of text. That's how small it gets. An interesting thing is that I used to read the Bible a lot, study the Bible a lot when I was in prison, and I wrote all my notes in my Bible Wheeler style. And now, and now I'm 42 years old, for real, 42 years old, and I can't read any of my notes. I have to ask my wife, hey, and my eyes have gotten bad to the point that if I put it closer to my face, it doesn't help. So,
You still have that
man,
same Bible?
yeah, you
Good for
you
you.
saw. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, I got that Bible and I read it with my wife at night. We do Bible studies and it's interesting to read the notes that I wrote while inside. And this, the episode is called It's a Thin, it's always a thin line. And I got to say that most of those notes are 100% relevant right this minute. It's
Yes,
just a
sir.
scenery change.
Yep.
There's a note that says, respect authority. And I even wrote, hey, listen, I even wrote, I had to go look at it, but I wrote something: when the COs push you, it's not necessarily your place to push back. Respect the
Nice.
authority. And I forget what Bible verse it was, but I used to read that sometime when I get heated with I go in my cell, read that Bible real quick, read that verse, chill, and be like, why do I even need to leave the cell? Just chill right here and just relax. And boom, problem solved, respect, everything went well. So yeah, get back on it. So that's what a kite, a wheeler is, everybody. It's a it's a very small handwritten note.
Yes, sir. So, my take on rehabilitation versus punishment or reincarceration is little bit different than Teacher Will's, because when I went through my bachelor's degree and I visited all these level 3 and 4 prisons, um, I wanted to change the system. I wanted to make a positive impact and show that rehabilitation of inmates is positive. If you take away, back then, inmates could get degrees, high school diplomas, associates, bachelor's, master's, PhDs, if they wanted to really do it. Um, Now you get the other side of the view. Well, they're in jail. Why should we give them the opportunity to get a fucking degree? That's pretty stupid. Well, if you want them to come out, be productive members of society, you have to provide some type of avenue so that they can learn a skill to be productive. Because the mentality back then and even now is just lock them up, keep them away from society. They're trash. They're lawbreakers, and just keep them back there. Um, I learned the hard way that the system is broke. I gave up on trying to fix it, so I just said, you know what, me myself, I will do my best part to be a positive influence or person, just a positive person, like Teacher Will said. That Sally gave him the opportunity just for a TV that changed his life forever. And I've told stories of guys, me just giving them a phone call. That's a sort of rehabilitation that changed their life for a very long time. Um, Now, that's on an individual basis. That's what I told Teacher Will. If you look at the bigger scheme of the state, the federal system, even county, yes, some of them try to rehabilitate. However, the political agenda is just lock these people away. The sad part, take it a step further, the last time I checked in the late 90s, it cost $64,000 to keep an inmate locked up a year. That's way more than the average family or average person makes in a year in California. I think the average income is like 25, 30,000, and it costs more to keep an individual locked up. That's just, it makes no sense. But do I think rehabilitation works? Of course it does. But they want to have to change. They want to have to change. So
Yeah, I
that's
want
my
to.
take on that right now. So my law enforcement career started way before ICE. I did juvenile probation for a year, and I had the aftercare unit, individuals, kids. I'm gonna say 9 years old all the way up to 18, coming out of YA or juvenile hall. And I worked with a female officer who couldn't be alone because she had the hardcore gangbangers from Logan Heights in San Diego, Shelltown, Sherman Heights. I mean, they're big time bangers getting out. And my theory was all the time I was straight up, raw, real. And I remember we had a caseload of 400 kids. That's a lot for one person. I only was able to help one kid get off of probation by the time he was 18. But I recall there was a young kid, 17 years old, just got out of YA. He was from, and this kid had got jumped by some, I think it was, I don't recall, gangbangers. They jumped him, put him in a car, went to a bridge and threw him over the bridge. The kid got his head split in the hospital in a coma, survived. So by the time he got to me, he got released from YA. Kid was bitter,
Hey,
angry.
just to let everybody know, YA is California Youth Authority,
Right,
and whew, you don't let the Youth Authority fool you. In many instances, YA California Youth Authority is worse than the penitentiary,
right.
and the worst part is it's all underage kids in a place worse than the state penitentiary. So think about that. But continue. Sorry.
So this young kid, I went to his house with this officer. We met him, and um, went drug test him. It was mandatory to drug test this specific individual because inside the YA he was somehow smuggling drugs in, and we would go once a week to drug test him. I met the entire family, the mother, the father, the sisters, and like I told the mom, look, this is going to be his life. I'm going to come once a week. I'm going to drug test him. I'm not going to lie to him. I'm going to tell him exactly what time I'm coming. If he does drugs, I'm going to lock him up 30 days. If he's clean, he stays out. I told him that in front of his family. Hey, if you piss test dirty, I'm locking you up. So you can't say I didn't tell you. First time, first week he was clean. 2 weeks later, dirty. 30 days. He got out. First week clean. Second week dirty. Locked him up again. Third time I said, bro, all you gotta do is stay clean for 7 days before I come. What's wrong with you? My homies are my family. Your homies are your family. When you were locked up, did they give your mom money to pay the rent when your dad wasn't working? No. Did they come and help your sisters go to school? No. And those are your homies? Oh, those are my brothers, man. They got my back. Okay, well, it is what it is. 6 months into his probation, they were on hard times, bad, bad. And they had no food. So I took $200 of my own money, went shopping, milk, eggs, you know, basic necessities. Showed up at the house, and the mom is crying, crying, crying. I said, don't cry, ma'am. It's okay. I understand you. We all go through hard times. And the kid's like, why are you doing this? I said, because you ain't working. Your dad got laid off. If you were a man, you'd be handling your business instead of being with your homeboys on the street thinking you're hustling. I do this because I see your mom and her pain. And yeah, at the time, my ex thought I was nuts. Why am I buying this family $200 worth of food? The kid turned 18. Uh, by 18, they can't keep him on probation anymore. He was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So, he thanked me, and I said, "Hey, man, tell me why I failed. Why wasn't I able to change your life?" And he told me straight up, Hey, you know, PO, hey, PO, it's not that you failed. I respect you. My homeboys have so much respect for you, but I don't want to change. I love my life. I love the authority and the power. He thought he had authority and power in the hood, which, whatever, you know. But he's like, I'm good. I'm going to go to prison and I'm going to be somebody. In his mind, him being somebody was being a badass inmate, a shock collar. And I always told him, tomorrow's a new day for me. This chapter in my life is done. So the next time your mom is hungry, I'm going to tell her right now when I leave, I'm sorry, you can't call me no more. I'm done. That's your responsibility, man, to be a man. You're 18 years old. Handle it. And I left. I'm not going to lie. There's times I look back and I wonder what happened to the kid, if he ever manned up or not. But sometimes rehabilitation, it doesn't work. If people don't want to change, they're not going to change. Does that mean we give up? Of course not. But that was how I started my own process of rehabilitation and rehabilitating myself at the same time to be a kinder, better person.
All right. Well, the name of this podcast, it's always a thin line, and it appears that the thin line between rehabilitation and punishment is, does the person want it? Does the person want to be rehabilitated, or does the
Amen.
person want to be punished,
Real quick in the comment section, what movie is this? You want to fuck or fight? No more locked doors, baby.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this time. And we really appreciate the support and the love. Please drop a comment if you want to talk, if you want to hear us talk about anything in particular. And thank you again for the love and support. Remember, always show love, always show respect, and remember, it's always a thin line.
Peace.